Hi kind friends, so today I'm going to be doing my favorite books of 2015. I've never done a video series like this before, so make sure to let me know if you like it, and make sure to comment below saying what your favorite books are from this year, or maybe even just your favorite TV shows or programs, because I'd love to know what you guys are watching and what you're interested in, so we can chat about that in the comments. Don't forget to like this video if you love the frequent updates that I've been giving lately. So, my first favorite book, my absolute favorite book, actually, is Shatter Me by Tahara Mafi. I've mentioned this a few times recently because I listened to the whole trilogy fairly quickly because I was so impressed with it. Shatter Me is a series about a girl named Juliet who, ever since her birth, her touch has killed people. Just her touch is so painful that it feels like you're being tortured. So that's something that's really difficult to live with, and because of that she's had little to no contact with people. Her family has treated her kind of like a pariah. It's been a really horrible situation for her, and she's just a good person that can't help it that when she touches somebody they're in pain. So it's a really stressful situation, and her family basically throws her into an insane asylum. So it's not a good situation. Kind of tough a little bit to read, but it's so beautiful, and the way that Juliet's feelings are described, because a lot of the things that it's done through her perspective, so we feel like we're kind of like in her journal and in her most innermost thoughts, and it was such a beautiful story. I was so impressed by it. It is a trilogy, so there's Shatter Me, Unravel Me, and Ignite Me. And they're all three very good stories, but the first one is just a real standout to me because you really get to know Juliet personally, and it's mostly just Juliet and like one or two other people, so it's a really like close group, and it's just a beautiful telling of somebody's like inner thoughts, and it's almost like the powers were almost an afterthought for me, because yeah, she can do these things and yeah, she can't touch people, but it's more of just being really into what she's thinking. I don't know, it's hard to describe, but her emotions just really gripped me. So that's why Shatter Me is actually now my new favorite book. I love it. By the way, all of the books that I'm talking about are young adult novels, because I read almost exclusively young adult because I just love that genre. So this is a young adult novel, and Juliet is a teenager. So I really love it. I do like the sequels, but not as much, because it gets more into the world building and it kind of becomes almost like an X-Men scenario. But just the first one really grabs me. And the narrator is a big part of that, and her name is Kate Simses. She's, I believe, an actress on the show Dr. Ken. I don't watch Dr. Ken, but she also does book narrations, and she really impressed me. She totally embodied Juliet's voice. So if you want to get this on Audible or on Overdrive, I have a free book link, though. I really recommend you get this on audiobook, even if you love physical books, because the narrator is seriously amazing. So Kate Simses, I'll link her information below. So that was my first favorite book. My second one, and other than Shatter Me, the rest are in no particular order, but I recently finished the Nash Trilogy, and it's also narrated by Kate Simses. I kind of want to read everything now that Kate is involved in because I love her narration. But Matched is by Ali Gandhi, but it's a series, pretty much everything, yeah, except for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm sharing with you 5 books, and 3 of them are in dystopia. So Matched, like Shatter Me, is also a dystopian story, also narrated by Kate Simses. But Matched is kind of like a new society where kind of everything is decided for you almost, like where your work is being placed, who you're going to marry, how many kids you can have, kind of everything is decided for you and based on data and optimum performance, and just all this data that they gather from you from your birth until the end of your life kind of determines everything that you're going to do. Very statistical kind of procedure. There isn't a lot of freedom of choice. And one girl finds out, has a difficulty because she's accidentally matched to 2 people, and they say that it's a mistake, but she doesn't feel like it's a mistake because now that she knows these 2 people, she feels pulls towards both of them. So it's a very light love triangle, but they don't really emphasize on it. Pretty much as soon as you get really into the story, you know who she's going to pick, and it isn't really like that dramatic triangle format that a lot of young adult books have. It just has a little bit in the beginning, which I really liked because I'm getting a little tired of love triangles, honestly. but it's a very unique kind of story and twist on dystopia that I was really interested in reading, and I really enjoyed this first book following her and her match, and then basically through discovering her love for this match, she finds more flaws in her society and learns to kind of find her own freedom in herself, and tries to like more understand the importance of choice. So it's a very interesting trilogy. Again, I do think the first book kind of outweighs 2 and 3 by a lot, but it is overall a great story that I really enjoyed reading this past December. So definitely check out Matched by Andy Condi. Condi, right? Yeah, Condi. Next, I have a book that was originally German, I believe, that was translated, and it is Ruby Red by Kirsten Gier, and the translator is Anthea Bell, and it's a very beautiful story where this one isn't a dystopia for once. I feel like all I read lately is dystopia, but it follows a girl who she's grown up her whole life knowing that her cousin is going to be a time traveler, and being in this big ancient society, the daughter during this certain birth date is going to become this beautiful time traveler, and they're kind of groomed for it towards birth. But then, surprise, the cousin isn't the time traveler, she ends up being the time traveler, and even though she's grown up kind of time travel adjacent, she hasn't really been trained in the way that her cousin has, and she's thrown into this big dramatic world of time traveling. So it's just a really exciting premise that I've never heard of before. I really liked the idea that, she accepted that this was her cousin's destiny and then finding out that it was hers. So it was a very interesting story. Again, one of those things where I didn't really like the sequels very much, but I really liked the first one, Ruby Red by Kirsten Gier, and I definitely recommend you try it because I haven't read very much in time travel, and I thought that this was a really cool way to do it. Though I didn't really buy the romance. I didn't really like the romance very much, but Ruby Red was really cool on the whole, and it was something that I was really excited to read, and it was a big page turner. I really enjoyed it. Next, I have The Heir, which is actually the 4th book in a 5-book series. The Heir is by Kira Cass. Kira Cass is my favorite author because she's just so relatable and funny, and she has a YouTube channel. She doesn't update it really anymore, but I really just kind of fell in love with her as a person through her YouTube channel, and I was like, wow, you're a really genuine, cool person. That made me love her writing so much more. But she is, The Heir is book 4 in the Selection series. So the Selection is set during a dystopia world where everything is classified by your profession, and America's Singer is a 5, I believe, which is the creative arts, and she is a singer. And kind of by accident, not intentionally, she ends up in the drawing for being the future king's bride. And she's kind of forced to go into this, and she's basically in almost like a reality show similar to The Bachelor, but instead of getting just any old bachelor, they're getting a chance to be the queen of their country. And they kind of use it as like a morale booster where all of the princes marry one of the common women to kind of bring the people to the royalty kind of situation. And it's a really interesting series. A lot of people find the character America's Singer a little bit annoying because it is a intense love triangle throughout the whole 3 books where she can't figure out who she really loves. But then the 4th book in the series follows her daughter with the man that she chose. So I really loved the 4th book in the series. I thought that it was like a million times better than the first 3. I felt like the quality of the writing was really good. I really enjoyed the main character, Evelyn. I thought she was a very kind of relatable character, and I really enjoyed reading it. And as soon as I read it again a second time, and then I reread the whole series and read the 4th book again. So it's something I've read 3 times this year, so I just knew I had to include it in this guide as being one of my favorite books of 2015. And last, I kind of want to do an honorable mention. This series I actually started in 2014, but it's the Lunar Chronicles. There's 4 books in the series. Cinder, Scarlet. What's the 3rd one? It stars Rapunzel. Cress. And then the 4th one is Winter, and it's a retelling of fairy tales, but in a dystopian world where there's cyborgs and invasions from the people that live on the moon. So it's a really interesting, beautiful, and exciting story that covers a lot of really interesting characters, and there's a lot of great romance in it too. And the main character, Cinder, she is based on Cinderella, but she's also a cyborg. So it's a really interesting story that kind of takes things in a way you wouldn't expect fairy tale retellings to go, and I really enjoyed it. And the final book in the series came out this year called Winter, which follows Snow White. The 4-book series follows Cinderella, Red Riding Hood, Rapunzel, and Snow White. So really great, interesting characters. I only read the last book in this series this year, but I really enjoyed the whole series as a whole, and it was just a really great end, and I really like how they ended things, so I definitely recommend that. So those were my 5 favorite books of 2015, all in the young adult category. They were really fun stories for me to read, and I definitely recommend them to all of you guys. If you guys have read any of these books and read something else that you think is similar or that I would enjoy based on these recommendations, definitely do let me know, and just your favorite books in general, because I'd love to kind of expand my reading category in 2016, because I pretty much read exclusively young adult, which I'm okay with. I love that genre. I love kind of people discovering who they are in really tough situations, and I feel like that's what most young adult books are. So definitely let me know if you think, based on that, if you think of anything that I would enjoy. Definitely do let me know, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.